everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Tuesday. It's June 18th. It is 2024. We have a 10-game MLB slate to talk about here on today's podcast. Joined today by my good buddy, my very thankful partner in crime here that's filled in a lot for me over the last week. But I got Keith Eys819. Keith, what's happening, my friend?
Not too much. Glad to have you back. Welcome back. Hope everything went well for you over the weekend. Everybody had lots of fun. Good competition. But we're definitely glad to have you back for sure.
The high level of volleyball that I got to witness this weekend was a lot of fun. I never really got into volleyball, and my daughter started playing it, and then I started to get into the strategic part of volleyball, and it's just incredible. And then watching the level that I got to watch this weekend was crazy, So yeah, it was fun. Good weekend. Really tired. Like I was telling Keith before the show, we kept drawing 7:30 in the morning games. So my whole break that I wasn't here, I kept getting getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and that's not who I am. I am not a morning person. So now I'm super exhausted. We got back this morning. So glad to be back. Haven't really paid any attention to sports outside of watching some NASCAR races this weekend. So really excited to mess up a lot of people on the IL and down in the minors and up in the minors. So if I do that, I apologize ahead of time. I did research this slate before we got started. I was watching some basketball and spent some time researching the slate. So I feel good about it. I don't feel good about the pitchers on the slate. I'm sure everyone is kind of feeling the same way when they look at and open up the slate. So it'll be interesting to see where we kind of end up on pitchers that we like today. But outside of that, thanks for having my back, Keith, as Chad is saying. What's up, YouTube? Hope you're all having a fantastic Monday night. Derek, yeah, I agree. That race was just absolutely phenomenal yesterday. I'm hearing good things about them going back to Iowa, so that was fun. Yeezy in chat. Michael, welcome back. Thank you. Keith has your back. Ryan says, I'm 10th in the FanDuel Wiffle Ball tournament with a morning grind lineup. Yeah, hey, nice. I tell you all the time, those morning grind lineups. So, but yeah, let's get into it. We got 10 games. We got a lot to talk about, and Keith's going to make fun of me when I mess stuff up, so that's fine. We get started with Baltimore at New York, 9 total in this game. Yankees a 152 favorite. Albert Suarez, Nestor Cortez. Any interest here in Albert Suarez?
Can't do it against the Yankees. Suarez has been okay. He's actually gotten great results. He's probably getting a little bit lucky, but I have no interest in attacking this New York lineup. Way too much power. They're patient. They don't strike out all that much. So no Suarez for me.
Yeah, I mean, slightly below average strikeout pitcher against one of the lowest strikeout rates in baseball. It's just really hard to get excited about playing Suarez. Recently, his strikeout rate has dipped even more, and he's just a guy that has a really high walk rate too. So it's just not a DFS option. I know we're going to be trying to find something today as far as pitching, but I mean, this is a guy that has top 20 one time this year, and now he's getting the Yankees, who, as crazy as it sounds, they just don't strike out. For years we picked on them, but I'm going to pass on Suarez. Let's go to Cortez. Nestor Cortez. He's actually a guy that has a little bit of ceiling on this slate where we're lacking ceiling, but faces a really tough Baltimore team. What are we doing with Nestor Cortez today?
Yeah, I mean, I normally wouldn't have interest, but I agree with you. I think he has more upside than most of the pitchers on the slate. There's one guy right in this range that I think has a little bit more upside, but I mean, I don't hate taking shots on him. It's not a safe spot by any means. Baltimore leads the majors in ISO, so very powerful lineup, very good young offense. Not a spot I'm thrilled to attack here, but Cortez has decent strikeout stuff. Deep tournament only. There's definitely safer options on the slate, but I think you can chase some strikeout upside here.
Yeah, I mean, Cortez is sitting around 22.5%. So he's a guy where to start the season, his strikeouts were fantastic. It's dipped a little bit. So you worry about the overall ceiling for him. He's only thrown over 90 pitches 2 of his last 5 starts. It's in there, but he really has been struggling recently, especially if we look at like his last 30-day numbers. I'm with Keith as far as like potentially playing Cortez. I mean, this slate kind of stinks. I like bats in this game. I'm not even going to hide the fact that I like the bats in this game. In a 20 entry max, 150 entry max build, do I potentially play some Cortez? The answer is maybe. I mean, it really just kind of shapes up to how I like the pitching overall. But I think overall, right now, it's like he's like right on that borderline, like fringe type of play in a 20 entry, 150 entry max type build. It's not a guy you're playing in single entry or 3 entry max today. Let's talk about the Baltimore bats. One of the reasons that like Cortez is kind of fringy is his recent struggles. And I mean, Baltimore's offense, man, like Adley Rutschman, fantastic against lefties. Mountcastle, fantastic against lefties. Santander, fantastic against lefties. Like, we want to play some Baltimore bats in Yankee Stadium here.
Yeah, for sure. Nice ballpark upgrade. Nestor keeps the ball on the ground for the most part, but he does have some home run trouble at times. And I mentioned Baltimore leading the majors in ISO, so plenty of great options here. I like all the guys that you named. Mountcastle is always one of my favorite guys to play against lefties. Westberg has been incredible this season. Gunner, lefty. It's tough to pay that price, but I don't think anybody will play him here against Cortez. Mateo, if he's in there, has some stolen base upside, so certainly don't hate him. He's probably going to be buried in the order, but as a way to help you fit some of these elite bats in, he's certainly fine. Austin Hayes, another cheapie that I don't mind. But yeah, I like the Baltimore bats more than I like Cortez.
Yeah, I mean, you have to home run chase here too. Like Cortez has a home run issue. Like he struggles with home runs, so like you want to pay up for like a Rutschman today. You want to play Mountcastle. You want to play Santander. You want to play some Westberg. Like he's a strikeout or power guy. So like you want to attack him with some of these power bats. Yankee side, I mean, like you said, Suarez has not been like a bad pitcher. He's just not a high strikeout guy. There's going to be a lot of good contact made in this spot by an offense that has a huge ceiling. So I think the Yankees stack very much in play here at home against Albert Suarez.
Yeah, I mean, Judge is almost up to 7,000. We saw Ohtani at 7,000 in Coors. But you just got to keep playing this guy. He's homering like every other game, it feels like, just on an incredible run. Certainly love Judge. The rest of the stack, like it's tough. The prices are coming up. I guess Volpe probably has the best price, just considering upside at the top of the lineup there. He'll steal a base. He can hit a home run or two. Torres's price is coming up now that he's starting to hit a little bit better. LeMahieu would be stack only for me. It's tough to fit the stack together because you want Judge and Soto, but they're both over 6,000. And then with everybody else getting a little bit more expensive, it's not the easiest stack in the world. I like Stanton's price at 4,900 just fine. Verdugo's been good at 4,300. But fitting it all together, it's tough to do it with Judge and Soto in there.
Yeah, so Rizzo is going to be out. I saw a report he's going to be out like 4 to 6 weeks here.
Yeah.
So we might get some like value savings with like a Cabrera or LeMahieu. I would assume that like LeMahieu plays first base some and Cabrera has the opportunity to play some first base, but they're both pretty cheap. And like DJ LeMahieu is a guy that like his power is just kind of dipped off big time, but like he's still very capable. So I don't mind either one of those guys like value savings. Just because I think we're going to need it. We're going to need some value. So Boston at Toronto, 7.5 total in this game. Boston a slight 116 favorite. Houck against Bassett. Any interest here in Tanner Houch?
The price is up there. 10-3 for Tanner Houck. Good for him. He's been really good this season. He's a guy that I've been following closely. He's really talented. He's taken a step forward this season for sure. Outstanding results. I'm not scared of this Toronto offense. How much upside is there? They're still really contact heavy. And Houck's price being up at 10-3. I'm a little bit worried about him paying that off. he's not an elite strikeout guy, 24.5%. And I made the comment a couple of times about he's faced the same team in back-to-back starts on 3 different occasions. So I think he can be more like 25, 26, 27% with the strikeouts. Even if we credit him for that, it's still hard to pay off a 10K price tag here against a low strikeout Toronto team. I probably keep him in the pool just because it's not the best upside slate, but I'm not in love with the price.
Hate the price point. Like, I don't do, like I say, everybody knows this by now, but I don't ever look at like pricing until we get on the morning grind. I just like looking at the stats and the data before we get started. And I had him written down in my pitcher pool today, but the price tag, like, this is a tough price to swallow when we have plenty of bats to pay up for today. Like, bats, paying up for bats, not an issue today. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a good spot overall. Like, I don't think he's going to go out there and get shelled in this spot, but I worry about the ceiling at the price point. It's just, that's the biggest problem and issue here for me on him. Like you said, I mean, maybe you leave him in your pool, but I mean, Derek just killed me in chat. The price is wrong, Bob. Happy Gilmore, baby.
That's awesome.
It's just not a spot. I think he goes for 30 plus, and he's 10-3, and we want to pay up for bats. So it's tough. It's really tough to play him today, even though I do think he's one of the best pitching options on the slate. Bassett on the other side, we know what we're getting from Chris Bassett at this time in the season. He's going to go out and he's going to throw good quality innings and really attack righties and struggle with lefties. I mean, Chris Bassett's MO now this is like now going on a long term where we're looking at last season too. He's good against righties. He struggles with lefties. Is there enough righties in this lineup to potentially play Chris Bassett 8,500 today?
I have some interest because of the price. You're getting 100 pitches out of him. He has one of the best leashes in baseball. Boston strikes out a fair amount. They strike out more against lefties than they do against righties. And they do have the ability to get a little bit left-handed on him. So it's not the best spot matchup-wise. I do like that it's not in Fenway Park here. So Boston getting the ballpark downgrade going to Toronto. This lineup is pretty scary, though, especially Devers and the jump that Duran has taken. It's not a spot that I love. But in the context of the slate, I definitely think Bassett is in play.
Yeah, it's going to be a lineup thing for me. They roll out 5 or 6 lefties. I'll probably leave Bassett on the bench. If they have 5 or 6 righties, I think this is a spot you could play Bassett. Like, his splits are so dramatic that, like, if they roll out 6 lefties, it's just almost impossible to play him for me. So it's a lineup thing. You're going to have to kind of decide what the lineup looks like. It becomes really interesting if it's like 4 lefties, right? Like, if it's 4 lefties, 5 righties, it's like, all right, who are the righties? Who are the lefties? Like, I'm not like getting scared about facing like a David Hamilton, but like, Duran has been fantastic. Devers, we know like his ceiling, and then like the righties, Ref Snyder's actually been really good. Tyler O'Neill, like, he's found new life in Boston this year. He's been phenomenal outside of his strikeouts. So
double dong on Monday night.
Yeah, it's just it's really tough because they have enough lefties to make it very painful for Bassett if they want to. So we'll see what the lineup looks like here. As far as Boston bats, I like the lefties. I play lefties against Bassett all the time, and I'm just not going to stop. Like, any lefty that cracks the lineup is in play for me here.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I love Devers. Duran, there's a little sticker shock in that price, but he's been that good. There's stolen base upside as well as a little bit of power. So I think he's worth 5K leading off in this spot against Bassett. Devers is one of the best hitters on the slate. O'Neill, you can play his power anytime. If Hamilton is in there, I certainly don't mind him. Another guy who seems like he's taken a step forward this season. Another guy with massive stolen base upside. Valdez is cheap, depending on where he hits in the lineup. I certainly have interest there. Yoshida is also really cheap. I know the power has not quite lived up to expectation for him, but a high contact lefty against Bassett, I'm certainly on board with that.
Yeah, and the only other name that I'll throw out there is like Dom Smith. Really cheap left-handed first baseman that has a little bit of pop. So I don't hate potentially looking at Dom Smith in this spot either. Any interest in the Toronto bats here against Houch?
Not really. Houck he's just been too solid this season. I will say they have a couple of cheap call-ups here recently. Horwitz is a guy that I don't mind at 3,300. They've moved on from Biggio, shipped him off to LA. So nice to see some of these young guys. Barger is another guy that they just recently called up. Another cheap lefty bat. Decent prospect, not anything overwhelming by any means, but at least they have a couple of cheap lefties in there now, instead of all these righties that have just struggled immensely this season. Springer is still cheap, but man, that guy he's not getting it done. So I don't love the stack. Houck has definitely been a really solid pitcher this season, but you can string together, like, play Schneider, Horwitz, and Barger type of stack, like a little 3-man there. I don't hate that, but I'm not trying to pick on Houck all that much.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, getting a cheap one off is never like you mentioned, Barger, he's 2,100. Like, he could go 0 for 4 and he's not going to kill you. So,
right.
All right, Detroit at Atlanta, 9.5 total in this game. Atlanta 162 favorite. Casey Mize, Spencer Schwallenbach. Any interest here in Casey Mize?
I just don't know where the strikeout upside for this guy has gone. I know he dealt with the injury, but the strikeouts haven't fully come back. He's cheap. I'll give him that. Atlanta is not the scary offense we thought they were going to be. Obviously down Acuna, a couple of guys struggling, although Austin Riley's starting to come around. I don't know. It's a cheap enough price that I wouldn't call you crazy for considering him. I don't know what the upside is here.
Yeah, his strikeouts have just dipped. I mean, he's 15% on the season. He's 10% over the last month. Like, he just absolutely has it's gone. I mean, the guy is just not striking people out. And, like, I was on the Casey Mize is going to improve train this year, and it just really hasn't happened. So, yeah, the lineup's not scary, but you still got to be able to attack this lineup. There's too many good bats, and when you're only striking out 10% of hitters with a 5% swinging strike rate and 11% whiff rate, you're probably going to struggle against this offense. So, I'm out on Mize. I just don't think this is a spot to play him. I mean, there's plenty of spots I think you could play him, but I don't think this is one of them today. And then in chat, they're talking about Olsen. Like, Olsen is not a bad pitcher. Like, he's a really, really solid pitcher. So, he's just on the wrong team. Let's talk about Schwallenbach here on the other side of this game. At least 85 pitches in all 3 starts since getting called up. He's faced Washington, Boston, and Baltimore. So he really hasn't had like a fantastic matchup. Washington's not a team that's going to go out and beat you, but are we interested in playing Schwallenbach in this spot against Detroit?
Yeah, I think so. Made the jump straight from Double-A, so nice to see him holding his own a little bit. Like you said, the matchups have not been easy for this guy. Boston has been red hot here recently. Baltimore's one of the best offenses in baseball. And Washington they don't strike out all that much. So nice to see some of the stuff translating here. The strikeout rate in the minors was outstanding. It's only 17.6% for his first 3 starts, but the swinging strike rate is better, 11.8% on the swinging strike rate. So I think there is some sneaky strikeout upside from this guy. We know he has big time stuff. He's a legitimate prospect here for the Braves. Making the jump straight from Double-A is not an easy thing to do, but I've seen enough of him being able to hold his own that I'm going to take some shots here at 7K against Detroit.
Yeah, some of his expected stats are fantastic, right? Like his xERA is 3.86, where his actual ERA is like 6.32. So I think we're going to see like some positive regression. And I mean, he's mixing it up, right? Like he's using a fastball, a slider, a curveball, cutter, split finger. Like he's got some stuff. So he has a 2% barrel rate. And he, like you said, he faced a red hot Boston team. He's faced Baltimore, who has one of the best barrel rates in baseball. And he has a 2% barrel rate. So, I mean, I'm interested. I want to save some money somewhere. And I think this is one of the guys that I'm going to have in my pool. I'll be honest. Like, it's not one of those days where I'm going to be like, I'm playing this guy 100% at pitching, because I just don't think it's one of those days. So I think Schwallenbach is a great option today. And I mean, I think it's really encouraging what he did last time out. 6 innings, 2 earned runs, 3 strikeouts against Baltimore. That's a really good offense. 12 fantasy points. We want better than that, but I mean, Detroit's going to be an easier matchup for him too. So, any interest in the Detroit Bats?
A little bit. I mean, this is still a guy without much major league experience coming straight from AA. I just not a ton of upside in this Detroit offense. I will say they get a huge ballpark upgrade going from Detroit into Atlanta. It's getting hot in Atlanta. There was great hitting weather on Monday night. Kind of expecting more of the same here. I certainly don't mind Riley Green, who's had a really nice season. Mark Hanna has been okay. A couple of the cheap guys like Colt Keith, Justin Henry Malloy. Like there's some really cheap bats here that we can make some stuff work with. So probably more of a mini stack just because of the lack of upside in the Detroit lineup. But there are some options here, and they're all pretty cheap. Akil Baddoo, another cheapie. Certainly don't mind him.
Yeah, I don't mind a mini stack here. I think the mini stack is kind of how you're going to approach playing Detroit. Going to the other side, the Atlanta side. I mean, listen, I think Casey Mize is good, or I think he's solid. It's just something's going on with him. I don't know if it's injury or what, but he's been very hittable this year. I mean, I can't remember the last time I was excited about playing like a Brave stack since Acuna kind of went down, but I think I'm actually a little excited to play Braves today. Like you mentioned, Austin Riley warming up. We know Ozuna has just been one of the best power hitters in baseball this year. It's just wild. Guy has 20 plus home runs. His OPS is over 1,000. Like he's having a fantastic season. So, and then if they're going to continue to hit Kelenic leadoff, he's cheap. So he kind of fits into this stack. Forrest Wall's up with the team with Harris going out. So, I mean, this is a guy that at 2.5K offers some salary relief, but I think Atlanta is a top stack today. I think this is a team you want to play.
Yeah, Mize just isn't missing any bats. So, you know, we're getting balls in play here. There's power upside throughout the lineup. Even if they've struggled a little bit here recently, they're very much in play. Love the Kelenic call now that he's hitting leadoff. I don't know if he's ever going to figure it out, but he's been okay this season, even buried in the lineup. So him getting a chance to top the lineup here in front of all the big power hitters like Ozuna and Riley and Olsen, super exciting opportunity for Kelenic. Way too cheap for this spot. If Duvall cracks the lineup, I don't mind chasing power there. Sean Murphy's going to start hitting eventually. I'm going to keep playing the guy because the price hasn't come up yet. And then Forrest Wall, the guy who just got called up as well. Don't mind that at all.
All right, moving on. We got Tampa Bay at Minnesota. We got Aaron Savali, Pablo Lopez, 8.5 total. Minnesota 158. Favored in this game. Let's start with Savali. I mean, two pitchers that are not bad pitchers. Kind of having rough seasons, not fully living up to the potential. What are our thoughts here on Savali?
Yeah, I was excited about Savali coming into this season. He had a massive K rate after the trade over to Tampa Bay, and it just has not carried over to this season. So it's a tough spot. This Minnesota lineup is getting healthier as well. They have much more firepower in there than they did a couple weeks ago, a month ago. I don't mind the price tag on Savali, but it's been a bit of a rough season. The K's have started to tick up a little bit here recently, so maybe it's a spot where he finds some strikeouts, but I think with the improved Minnesota lineup, it's not a spot that I'm in love with.
Yeah, I mean, we keep saying it, right? Like Minnesota, they were fun to pick on at the beginning of the year, but it's just not been the same. I mean, this team is super solid against right-handed pitching. I think they're 7th in WRC plus and they're 5th in ISO. So this isn't like a fun lineup anymore. Their projected starting lineup under 20% strikeouts against right-handed pitching this year. So I think I'll pass on Savali unless he's going to be low owned. If he's low owned, he's one of a few pitchers that have a strikeout rate over 23% this season on this slate. So maybe Pablo Lopez on the other side of this game. This dude's all over the place. I have no idea what to expect from Pablo Lopez. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, am I going to take some shots on Pablo Lopez today at 9K? Yeah, probably. Tampa's lineup isn't anything scary anymore. So, I mean, I think I'll just play the talent here and hope that like the real Pablo Lopez shows up today. But yeah, I mean, I obviously I don't love Pablo Lopez in this spot, but I'll play him.
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of have to plug your nose and do it, right? Like, where else are we going to find upside on the slate? I think Pablo has the highest upside on the slate. I know he's been all over the place, has had a couple of real rough starts here recently. The Yankees got him. I can give him a pass for that. Texas beating him up, Washington beating him up. Like, Texas's lineup is pretty banged up right now, dealing with a lot of injuries. They're not the elite offense that we thought they were going to be, and Washington is definitely not elite by any means. So to see him get beat up by the likes of those two offenses is a little concerning, but then he has a nice game against Houston sandwiched in there as well, where he racked up 6 strikeouts against the highest contact team in the league. So we know the upside is in there. Who knows which guy's going to show up, but I'm with you. I'll be taking some shots on him.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, man, he really didn't pitch well against the Rockies, and that's concerning, but I think you just got to play him today. I mean, there's just not a lot of pitching on the slate, so you got to play somebody. Any interest in the Tampa bats against Pablo Lopez?
Not particularly. I think we've got a good chance to see good Pablo in this one, and there just isn't a ton of talent in this Tampa lineup. They were never superstars to begin with, but at least they had some guys who were performing. It's been a really rough season for Arozarena. Lau has been dealing with some injuries. I certainly don't ever mind taking some shots on his power. Palacios has flashed upside at times, but another guy who's kind of fallen back after a good start this season. I don't think I can get to a stack here really, just because it's hard to find 5 batters that I trust. Josh Lowe has dealt with injuries this season and a rough season overall for him. Like, Tampa Bay's offense just has not been good, so it's hard to get excited about him against Pablo here.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon Lau at 3.7K against a pitcher when he struggles is with lefty power bats, I think is a really excellent one-off on non-Pablo teams today. I mean, I think it's an excellent call. Minnesota, I think they're kind of a sneaky stack today. Like, this team has power, they have speed, they don't strike out a ton, they're going to put the ball in play a lot. Like, I mean, Tampa bullpen for years was fantastic, but Tampa bullpen this year has really been struggling. I think they're really close to a bottom 10 bullpen in a lot of statistics we like to, attack. I think Minnesota is your sneaky stack today. I really like this Twins team today.
Yeah, I'm on board as well. Buxton is starting to show signs of life. Kepler is fine, still cheap enough there at 4,200. Generally avoids the pinch hit. I really wish they didn't pinch hit for Larnach quite as much. And Kirilloff is another guy that they'll pinch hit for quite a bit. Really like those two lefties. They're both under 4K. So the pinch hit risk is kind of baked into the price a little bit. But it's always frustrating when you don't get your 4 full at bats from guys. But I still like the spot for them. Willie Castro has been hitting up at the top of the lineup quite a bit here recently. So I like him a good amount. Royce Lewis has just been absolutely insane. Glad to see him back healthy. Correa looks better this season as well. So I'm with you. Strong Twins lineup here.
Royce Lewis is scorching. That is what I wrote down on my notes. There you go.
Yeah.
San Francisco at your Cubbies. We got a 9.5 total here in Chicago with Logan Webb and Justin Steele. I looked it up instantly. And night before, wind blowing out to left center at 17 miles an hour on average. So we'll see what Roth has to say in the morning, because I think that's always the best when it comes to Wrigley. And we'll just kind of talk about it overall here. But let's start with Logan Webb. Any interest in Webb in this spot?
I hate the price tag, but I have interest. Even with the wind blowing out, Logan Webb is an elite ground ball pitcher, so I think he could survive some wind. I said the same thing about Jordan Hicks on Monday night. He survived even with a little bit of wind blowing out. I have way too much offense in this game on Monday night. Looks like it's starting to come alive a little bit, actually, since last time I looked. But it was not a good start to this game, and Weather Edge absolutely loved it on Monday night. Assuming it's going to really like it again here with warm temperatures and wind blowing out, I'm still probably going to play some Logan Webb. This Cubs offense has been scuffling pretty badly. Webb is a guy who has a long leash, and like I said, he keeps the ball on the ground quite a bit. So I think he can survive this spot, even if there's some wind blowing out.
Yeah, hasn't allowed a multi-home run game all year. Only 4 home runs he's allowed. I think Webb's in play today. Again, I hate the price tag. I mean, like, there's plenty of bats to pay up for today, so I'm going to try to save as much as I can pitching wise. But I think he's a really solid option in this spot. Justin Steele on the other side of this one. I mean, Justin Steele is another guy that typically is more of a ground ball guy than a fly ball guy. A little bit higher fly ball rate this year, but
Yep.
I mean, he's going to get a very right-handed heavy lineup. Like San Francisco, known to platoon very heavily. What are our thoughts here on Justin Steele?
I still think he's too cheap for the pitcher he's going to be this season. And I know I keep saying it, and he keeps running into problems. He was pretty good his last time out against Tampa Bay. We're starting to see him get like fully stretched out. It's 5 straight actually, over 90 pitches now. So hopefully the injury troubles are behind him. He had a rain game in there. We had to pitch through rain the entire game. That was against Cincinnati the first time. I feel like Justin Steele is back on track, and he has been for a month. It hasn't really shown up in the results. He's got a couple of nice starts in there, but we haven't seen that like vintage Justin Steele domination where he was doing it seems like every other start last season. It's been a rocky season for him, but I think we're starting to see signs of the ace Justin Steele show up again. And when that guy's out there, he should be a $9,000 pitcher. Strikeout stuff is not elite by any means, but he should land somewhere just above league average. Again, a guy who historically has kept the ball on the ground, has struggled a little bit with that early in the season or so far this season. But I mentioned just all the injury and all the things that he's dealt with. I feel confident he's going to get back to the guy he was last year. So I'm interested here at 8,200.
Yeah, I like the price point. I like the pitcher. I don't love the matchup because he's going to get a lot of righties, and I definitely prefer lefties for him. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think that he's a guy that can keep the ball on the ground. He limits hard contact, and his hard contact against righties has been way down over the last month. Like you mentioned, like he's been pitching a lot better. He's had some good matchups for being a lefty too. Milwaukee struggles a lot more with lefties. Cincinnati struggles more with lefties. Tampa struggles more with lefties. So matchups have been good for him, but I mean, maybe that's all he kind of needed to get going here was to get some good matchups. But yeah, I'm interested in playing some Justin Steele today. Again, it's not one of those days where I'm like, hey, I'm going to play this guy 100%. I just don't feel that way pitching. I'm going to spread out my ownership probably more than I usually do today. San Francisco bats, if I'm not playing Steele and I want to play a little bit of the wind, Ramos has been absolutely crushing left-handed pitching this season. Matt Chapman has been good against lefties throughout his career, and Soler has been outstanding against lefties throughout his career. Don't think I'd 5-man stack because it is a ground ball pitcher, but I definitely think you're looking at some of these power righties that have been very proven against lefties throughout their career.
Yeah, I love those 3 names that you rattled off right there. Those are the exact 3 names that I was looking at as well. I don't care that Chapman and Soler have struggled a little bit this season. We know that they just crush left-handed pitching. I have so much of them here on Monday night, and I'm going right back to them. Even though they were a little bit of a letdown, at least to this point. Great call on Ramos as well. Like this guy's been just absolutely crushing, especially left-handed pitching. So definitely want to get some exposure there. I might have 1 or 2 5-man stacks in a 20 lineup build, but I'm with you. I don't love the full stack. You can play some cheap pieces here to make it work. A guy like Wilmer Flores is somebody that we don't mind playing against lefties. If Ahmed's in there, I don't love punting shortstop because it has such high upside, but he's okay against lefties. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm with you. I like those 3 righties are so good, and then you're kind of stretching to make the full 5-man. So I think I'm with you. Probably just leave it to the 3-man.
Cubs bats. Any interest in your Cubbies here?
Probably just home run hunting, and even that's tough. It's part of why I'm willing to pay the price tag for Webb. Is he's just not a guy that gives up home runs. If you want to try to find one, I don't mind it. Probably Ian Happ is really heating up here recently. Homered on Monday night. Like the price tag for him at 4,100. would rather do that than go up top for somebody expensive like Bellinger. Even though Bellinger is certainly playable in this spot, an elite fly ball guy facing a ground ball pitcher. That's what you're looking for. You can play Pete Crow Armstrong for the speed upside. There's certainly pinch hit risk there. Definitely not a full stack for me. Don't mind chasing home runs. Michael Busch homered on Monday night as well. Don't mind going back to him.
Yeah, it'd be Busch or Bellinger for me. I would just target the two Bauer bats that hit the ball in the air. I mean, it's a guy that generates so many ground balls, that gives up a ton of hard contact. But I mean, he just doesn't give up home runs. So I'd be chasing with like a Bellinger or Michael Busch here. That's the only two guys that I really have. And I don't mind the Crow Armstrong like speed call, but I think there's better value plays today. Like, is he going to get on base by hitting the ground ball to the third baseman? Probably not.
He'll bunt,
New York Mets.
Bunt,
oh, yeah, he could. I mean, yeah, the wind's not going to carry that one.
Yeah.
Mets and Rangers, 8 total in this one. We got a pick'em game with Severino and Lorenzen facing off against each other. Luis Severino healthy. I mean, a lot better to start the season, but healthy still. I mean, pitching okay. Let's just call it how it is. He's pitching okay. You already kind of mentioned that the Texas bats are kind of banged up right now. Do we have any interest in Severino today?
I think Severino has been one of the luckiest pitchers in baseball this season. I don't know. I'm not buying any upside here. Texas is not a scary offense, though, as we've talked about a couple of times. I faded him in an awesome spot against Miami last start and got away with it. So I feel like I'm running hot on my Severino exposure here. And I just don't know what to do. Like he's fine at this price point. I'm concerned about upside here against a high contact Texas team. I don't know what to do with Severino. If he's owned at all, I will be underweight. I can tell you that. But if he's off the board, maybe I take some shots in tournaments. I'm not sure how much strikeout upside there is.
Yeah, he's a guy that I mean, when you're looking at his BABIP and you're like looking at his swinging strikes and his whiff rate, and you're like, man, if he gets any kind of ownership today, how do I play this guy? The flip side is like if he's low owned, maybe I can run lucky with him because I don't like pitching on the slate. So I mean, it's an ownership thing for me on Severino. I have a lot more interest in Lorenzen on the other side of this game, though. So let's talk about him. He's really struggled overall with his ceiling and strikeouts this year, but we know he's capable of 5+ strikeouts. The Mets have been hitting a lot better. I have been paying attention a little bit to some stuff, but Mets have been hitting a lot better recently. They still strike out, and Lorenzen's still capable. I want to play some Michael Lorenzen today, Keith.
Yeah, I don't mind it. He's a little bit like Severino in that he's been pretty lucky as well.
Oh yeah, 226 BABIP, baby.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they're very similar plays, to be honest. Both of them have a lower strikeout rate than you'd expect. I think they both have pretty good stuff. They both throw pretty hard. They both mix in solid breaking balls. So it's surprising to see both of them under 20% with the strikeout rate. Very, very similar to my feelings on Severino. Whichever of these guys is lower owned, I'll probably have exposure to. But I'm not real excited about it.
I'm not excited, but I'm going to play him. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's a ballpark upgrade for the Mets bats. If you're not playing Lorenzen, who do we like here on the Mets?
Yeah, I mean, you can play Alonso in any matchup. Lorenzen has had pretty neutral splits in his career as well. Lindor, certainly playable, had a big game Monday night. I think he hit a home run. Not positive on that one. JD Martinez still has a little bit left in the tank, has really been heating up here recently. So still too cheap for the ageless JD Martinez. Vientos has been really solid if he's in the lineup. This Mets offense, like you said, has been really hot here recently. So I don't mind some stacks. Like I said, I think Lorenzen's been a little bit lucky. Nimmo has been really solid as well. Should lead off in this spot. So I'll have a couple of Mets stacks, and I'll probably play a little bit of Lorenzen, just playing both sides, hoping I get a ceiling outcome from one side out of this.
My boy DJ Stewart hasn't gotten a hit in like 15 days. He's due. So there you go. But no, I mean, if they don't play Stewart and they keep playing Bader, I don't mind Bader. Like righty. He's been hot. He can steal bases. He's 3,500. Lorenzen is kind of reverse splitsy. So, I mean, I definitely like this spot for Bader if he cracks the lineup instead of DJ Stewart. Like the Pete Alonso, JD Martinez calls, Vientos. Yeah, interested here in the Mets if I'm not playing Lorenzen. DJ Stewart hit a home run tonight. Oh, see? Now I definitely can't play him because he has this quota for the next 10 days. Texas bats against Severino, like we kind of pointed out, Severino's kind of run hot. This team has a ton of injuries right now. Carter hurt. Josh Smith banged up all of a sudden. Heim is out on the paternity list. We don't know when he'll be back, if he'll be back for this one. I mean, some positive things is like Josh Jung is really close to getting back. That's going to help this lineup a lot. I don't think it happens this series, but I wouldn't be shocked if we get him back for the next series here. What are we doing with Texas against Severino?
Yeah, I mean, it's just not an exciting lineup really at this point. The depth, anyway. Of course, Seager and Simeon and Adolis Garcia are all great, and you can certainly play them, but it falls off in a hurry. Nate Lowe just hasn't been that good this season. The power is down. Like Robbie Grossman is cheap. I guess you can do that if you want to. I don't really want to. Same with Travis Jankowski. Like some of these names are just not that exciting. Sam Huff is a punt catcher at 2K. If he cracks the lineup, filling in for Jonah Heim, I certainly don't hate punting catcher. But the names are not all that exciting here. Yeah, I don't have much else to say.
The names are not exciting, but the prices are great. I mean, you could play Garcia, Simeon, Seager in a 5-man Texas stack because the rest of the team is just so cheap. So I think Texas stacks are like very playable overall today, just because you can get the 3 top guys for this team. All right, Houston at Chicago, 8.5 total. We got Houston as a 215 favorite here. Valdez against Cannon. I have a bad feeling about Framber Valdez chalk day. It's coming. Prepare yourselves because it's here. He's 9,300. He's facing one of the worst teams in baseball against left-handed pitching, and pitching stinks on this slate. I think Valdez is going to be the chalkiest pitcher on the slate today.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, and it's very uncomfortable. I generally fade Framber when he's chalk. I don't know. He walks too many guys. The strikeouts aren't, especially this season, the strikeouts are way down. He just hasn't not had a good season. There's rumors of him dealing with injuries, much like the rest of the entire rest of the Houston Astros rotation is. I don't know. I can't get behind him as chalk. I know the White Sox stink. There's more strikeouts in this lineup here recently as well. I just 40% own Framber Valdez. I'll probably be underweight. If he's only 30%, maybe I reconsider that, but I think he's going to be way up there. He has a long leash. Even if he runs into trouble, he did get pulled early in his last start against San Francisco, but they've allowed him to get beat up a couple of times before and kept him out there. I don't know, like his strikeouts are way down this season. I don't know why they suddenly come back and spike for this White Sox game. I'll probably be underweight Framber.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not fading him by any means. I'll be underweight like Keith because I hate Framber Valdez chalk days. Last year they were fine, right? Like overall, when he was chalky and he was in a good spot, he pitched well. It's been kind of weird, but yeah, I mean, overall, I don't think I could do it. I want to play him because I do think like he's capable of throwing a complete game shutout against the White Sox, and they will allow him go like over 100 pitches to get there. But and the lineup is just not good. I mean, they have been better against lefties. You know, they've moved some stuff, they call some people up and stuff. But yeah, I mean, if he's chalky, I'll be underweight. But overall, I'm probably not going to be overweight on Valdez today. Other side of this game, any interest here in Cannon?
He's really cheap. The upside against Houston is a little concerning, but Jonathan Cannon has probably been better than most people realize this season. I actually played him a little bit in that start, in his last start. I forget who the chalky cheap pitcher was that I pivoted off of, but Cannon was basically unknown, and it worked out really well because of the matchup against Seattle. I don't love the matchup against Houston. There's just not near as much upside as there was against Seattle. So as a punt pitcher, I'm okay with it. I just know that I'm probably likely struggling to get to 15 points instead of having the upside for 25 like he found in his last start. But he's been really good this season. Strikeout rate is above average. Walks are way down at like 5%. Yeah, exactly 5%. 23.8% on the strikeout rate. All the underlying stuff looks better than his top line results. I'm buying Jonathan Cannon. I don't like the matchup is the only problem.
Yeah, I mean, Houston's just not a really high strikeout team, so it's really tough to get excited about playing him. But I mean, this kid might actually be like the real deal. We just haven't gotten to witness it a lot because they mess with him with bullpens and stuff, out of the bullpen and stuff. But I mean, for what we've seen of him, like he has good whiff rates, he has good swinging strike rates, he has good strikeout stuff. Like he's capable. He's 6,200. I like the price. I'll probably have him in my player pool in like a 20 entry max build today. And just I want to play bats, right? Like at the end of the day, I want to play bats, and I don't mind taking a shot on a guy like Cannon to play some bats. It's the same thing that I said with like Lorenzen and Steele. Like I want to play bats. I think that's where we're at. Houston bats. I mean, Tucker being out of the lineup definitely helps Cannon too. Houston bats wise, I mean, Alvarez is just capable of hitting 3 home runs in any game. Bregman, after starting the season super slow, has been a lot better. The bottom half of this lineup is the reason that you could take shots on Cannon. The bottom half of this lineup is atrociously bad. But bats wise, I mean, I think you could take shots on Altuve, Bregman, Alvarez, Diaz. But I don't want to touch anything on the bottom half.
Yeah, I'm with you for the most part. Obviously, play Alvarez anytime you want. Bregman's been better. Is not quite fully priced at this point. Cheap stuff like you're messing around with like a Trey Cabbage possibly or Jonathan Singleton, depending on which one is in the lineup. I don't think I'm full stacking to use guys like that. There's better spots on the slate, I think. So, yeah, Alvarez is a one-off, pretty much it. Maybe a cheaper 3-man, including one of Singleton or Cabbage.
White Sox bats. Any interest in the White Sox bats here?
No, I don't think so. Even though Valdez is likely going to come with a ton of ownership, I don't know who's going to get to him, which is part of the scary part of the fade, right? It's why he's going to be chalk. Andrew Vaughn at 3,600 maybe as a one-off. Corey Julks, I don't mind as a one-off. Luis Robert would be the obvious one. Did we get Tommy Pham back? I think
he's back.
Yeah, Tommy Pham is back. That's a little bit of a boost to this offense, but I still don't want to stack against Framber. I'm probably just home run hunting here.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when it comes to the White Sox, I'll probably build like 1 to 3 stacks in a 20-inch max because Valdez is going to be chalk. I'll be underweight on him already, but like, I mean, this guy, he's not the same Valdez as he was last year. Like, he's still not giving up home runs like we really want for a stack, but like, he's hittable. Like, he's a guy that's hittable. You can score runs on this guy. Vaughn, Pham, Robert, DeJong, Jolts, Sosa, Mendick, like all these guys have good numbers against left-handed pitching. They just strike out. Well, Valdez strikeouts are like they disappeared this year. I mean, so I think this is a guy that you could pick on if he's going to be ultra chalky to gain some leverage. And again, I think he's going to be the chalkiest pitcher on the slate. So I mean, I'll tack his like 18.5% Ks and hope that I get some fly balls in this spot. All right, so let's talk course. One of the reasons that I want to pay down at pitching so much, right? Yeah, I mean, we got the Dodgers and the Rockies, 11.5 total. Bueller against Gomber. Dodgers a 198 favorite. Any interest in Walker Bueller and Coors?
No, I don't think so. He just hasn't been right since coming back. The strikeouts are way down. He's getting hit hard. So it's a really cheap price tag for what we used to know of Walker Bueller, but he hasn't been the same guy. Put him in Coors now. I don't feel great about it. I need to see some advancement in his stuff and just a little bit more success before I'm willing to roster him.
Yeah, his stuff just hasn't looked great. Like the Rockies are awful. We're getting a nice little discount on Bueller being in Coors. I mean, I'm on the fringe of like playing him today just because of how bad this team has been and like the price tag is nice. But I could see him easily getting destroyed in this game too. But I mean, like, dude, I just can't get over the fact that like we're hitting Jacob Stallings towards the top of the lineup because of how bad this team has been. And it's just like, if there's ever a spot for Walker Bueller to put up like 15, I'm not asking for Walker Bueller to put up 25 on this slate. If Walker Bueller can get me like 15 today, I think that's okay. So I might have him in my pool. I can tell you with 100% certainty, though, I will not have Austin Gomber in my pool today.
We can agree on that.
Yeah. We don't always have to agree, but I mean, a lefty against the Dodgers and Coors. Dude, Teoscar Hernandez. Like, yeah, we could start with Mookie. We could start with all these guys. But Teoscar Hernandez. Oh, I forget Mookie's on the IL. Just kidding.
Broke his hand.
Yeah. Dude, Teoscar Hernandez has been one of the best hitters in baseball against left-handed pitching this season. 360 ISO, 393 WOBA. He strikes out, but Gomber's a low strikeout guy. I think Teoscar Hernandez is the guy today. Like, I think he's the guy I build my Dodger stacks around. I think this is a spot he gets going. Otani is 6,900. Very nice. It's just, do we think he's going to be low owned? No chance, right?
Lefty at 6,900, maybe. So I think he'll be lower than he was Monday night.
It's Coors and they're full of right-handed arms in the bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, I'll certainly play him. It would be a mistake to fade him, but I'll be curious to see where the ownership lands. But I'm totally on board with your. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Oh, I mean, Will Smith. Obviously, you can pay up for Will Smith, but when we're looking at Coors and we're looking at Dodgers here, we got to find some value somewhere, right?
Chris Taylor's 2,800, but he sucks.
Yeah, I'd play him though. I'd play Kiki Hernandez at 3,300. Like, I have no issues playing either one of those guys because we know they're capable of hitting left-handed pitching. And Gomber's just not a good lefty. Rojas, Paez, I think are fine, but I think you're getting two of Smith, Hernandez, Freeman, Otani in your stacks. Don't be afraid to play lefty guys, because a lot of people are going to build that Dodger stacks with Hernandez, Smith. So don't be afraid to play like some Dodger stacks with Freeman, Otani.
Definitely, I absolutely love that call. If that's going to be low owned, then that'll be my primary leverage on the slate. I think the field's sharper than that, but we'll see. And then you obviously, it's a tale of two lineups basically, right? The top is amazing. The first 4 hitters are amazing, and then it falls off a cliff, and you're begging for value. We're only playing it because it's Coors. Guys like Kike Hernandez, Chris Taylor, not exciting, but they make the stack work. Who was the other guy I wanted to? You mentioned him, Vargas. If he's in there, I actually would be semi-excited about playing Vargas way more than a guy like Kike or Chris Taylor for sure.
Rockies bats, Bueller not as intimidating this season. Rockies, they stink. Any interest here in Rockies bats?
Hector Neris is just awful. Just blew another save for the Cubs. Sorry. Like this Cubs bullpen is dog water. Absolutely brutal. Sorry, got sidetracked there. Rockies bats against Bueller. I'm interested. just because Buehler is so hittable here recently. I don't think the Rockies are good. They're much better, obviously, because of the ballpark. McMahon should be back in the lineup. Him not cracking the lineup on Monday was a little tilting. It was a lefty-lefty. He'll certainly be in there, I would think, here against Buehler. Nolan Jones back in the lineup as well. One of their better hitters. Tovar's been really solid. All those guys are fairly expensive, but we can find some cheap stuff to go with it. Amador is a guy who just recently got called up. Love that he has second base eligibility here. Who's the cheap? If Goodman or can't find his name now. There's another cheap outfielder very similar to Goodman that I'm looking for. Oh, Bouchard. He's on the IL though, so scratch that. Yeah, I'm interested in Rockies just because it's Coors Field. Buehler has been hittable here recently. I'm not in love with the prices or anything, but at least we have a couple of punts in the lineup here to help make it work.
Yeah, you build your stacks around like McMahon, Jones, and Blackman, I feel, and then kind of go from there. Nolan Jones being back helps this lineup a tremendous amount. He is a really solid hitter. So I think he was hurt all beginning of the season, and we just never really saw it get going early, and then they finally put him on the IL, and he's come back hitting, so it's good to see. Milwaukee at LA taking on the Angels. 8.5 total here. Milwaukee a 136 favorite. Tobias Myers, Griffin Canning. Any interest here in Tobias Myers?
Yeah, I think he's fine. 6,500 is a fair enough price point. The Angels are far better against left-handed pitching than they are against right-handed pitching. Not an elite K guy by any means, but he has flashed a little bit of upside here. Don't know exactly what we're getting with the pitch count, but I don't think it matters all that much here against the Angels at 6,500. He threw 100 2 starts ago against Detroit, but only 66 in his last one. I have no idea what's driving these decisions by the Brewers. Seems like he's kind of lived in that upper 60s to upper 70s range more than he has been 100. He must have had a no-hitter going or something in that 100 pitch outing. I don't recall exactly, but that seems to be the outlier. Like probably expecting 65 to 80 pitches at most here. But I still think there's upside here against this Angels lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're like limiting his innings because he is still I think he's like 24, 25, but he's 6,500 against the Angels. I'm in.
Yeah.
Didn't need anything else, Keith. On this slate, 6,500 against the Angels, and you're a righty. Sign me up. I like his chances to go out there and throw 5 or 6 good innings, and I like his chances to win because Griffin Canning's on the other side of this game, and the Brewers are really good against right-handed pitching. So, yeah, I like Myers today at 6,500. I don't like Griffin Canning. At one point, like Griffin Canning was a guy that was like very usable, and it just hasn't been the same. I want nothing to do with Griffin Canning today.
Nor do I. They could not pay me to play him. They keep throwing him out there around 5K, and there's no interest. He just keeps getting hit hard and hit hard and hit hard. The strikeouts are way down. There's no chance I'm playing him.
Yeah, let's talk Brewers bats. They're out there on the West Coast, and they're getting 9 against the Angels. So I'm very interested. This bullpen, we've talked about it many, many times. This bullpen has been atrociously bad this season. The Brewers are one of the best teams in baseball against right-handed pitching this year. It's really hard for me not to like the Brewers in general. It's really hard for me not to like the Brewers in this spot.
Yeah, I think they're one of the top stacks on the slate. Obviously, the Dodgers are the top stack, but if trying to get away from them, I do not hate going to the Brewers. We've talked many times about how they're better against right-handed pitching. Canning was reverse splitsy last season. This season, he's been absolutely beat up by lefties. Christian Yelich is one of my top bats on the slate. Absolutely love this spot for him. Bryce Terang, a guy you can certainly play. All these guys have speed upside in addition to a little bit of power upside as well. That's part of why we love the Milwaukee stack. A guy like Sal Frelick, Blake Perkins. There's like it's all like speed driven as well. So you're playing for stolen bases as much as you are for the home run upside. But you can certainly play a guy like Hoskins in any matchup. He'd be power only. Gary Sanchez, same type of thing, power only. But like Frelick, Perkins, Terang are all guys that add speed to a little bit of power as well. And then Adames just does a little bit of everything. So they're one of the top stacks on the slate for sure.
They're awesome to play. I mean, like everything you just said, right? Like they hit home runs, they steal bases, they don't stop running when they get up by a few runs. Like they're just a really fun young team. And they're driven with like a veteran like Yelich being back in the lineup, and he's hitting. Like he's come back and he's hitting. So he was hitting earlier in the year. We got concerned with the back injury, but he's hitting. And I think what's telling for like Christian Yelich, like his health, he has a stolen base in 4 of his last 5 games. Like that tells a lot about like where his health is right now. So love the Brew Crew today. Any interest in the Angels bets?
Minimal. They're cheap. That's about the best thing I can say about them. Shanwell has been heating up a little bit here recently. I just still can't stomach paying $4,600 for Kevin Pillar. I'd much rather play Taylor Ward at that price. Hoppy's been really good. I'm not like terrified of Myers or anything. I just don't think there's enough upside for a stack for me. Moniak is really cheap if he's in the lineup. Certainly don't mind him, but definitely not a 5-man stack. I don't mind if you want to do a little 3-man here.
All right, we finish it out. Royals, Oakland Athletics, 7.5 total. The Royals are 134 favorite. We got Marsh and Harris facing off against each other. Any interest here in Alec Marsh against Oakland?
A little bit, just because of the matchup. Oakland offers strikeout upside, and Marsh has actually had flashes of strikeout upside. He just struck out 7 against the Yankees, which was certainly not expected. 8 against the Mariners. I mean, that's not unreasonable, but to strike out 7 Yankees over 7 shutout innings is what an outing from this guy last time. I think we have to have a little bit of interest here, just given it's a fantastic matchup. Oakland strikes out a bunch out in the ballpark there. That just is great for diminishing power. Yeah, I'm interested at 7,600.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested too. He's cheap. He's facing Oakland, and he's actually flashed some upside recently, and now he gets Oakland in Oakland. So Hogan Harris on the other side. I mean, Hogan Harris has actually not been pitching terribly, but I don't know if I can do it. I mean, maybe if he's like really low owned, I could potentially take some shots on Hogan Harris because he's 6,800. He has decent strikeout stuff against righties, but he also gives up a lot of power. But this game's in Oakland, so I mean, I could see a road for Hogan Harris scoring like 15 plus points if he's going to be really low owned. I could take some shots because like the Royals are a very good offense, but they offer a lot more strikeouts towards the bottom half of the order against left-handed pitching. So for me on Hogan Harris, I'll have him written down and kind of see what his ownership is, tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, I don't love picking on Kansas City, so it's mild interest at best. Like I think the price point is fine, and obviously Kansas City's getting a huge ballpark downgrade going out to Oakland, so I don't hate the idea. I don't know if we need him here. Who was the other cheap pitcher that we had interest in? I'm losing
Cannon.
Yeah, Jonathan Cannon is Tobias Myers. I'd much rather play Myers than Harris. Get up a little 200 more for Schwellenbach. I would rather do that. I just don't like picking on Kansas City.
Oh, I hear you. I just like playing leverage plays, so they don't always work out, but when they do, let's talk Kansas City bats. Like I said, this guy hasn't been terrible, but Garcia, Witt, Perez, Furman is someone that's been really good against lefties this year. If you don't want to pay all the way up for Perez, you can get Furman around 3,400 there on DK. They also didn't they call somebody up last week? I can't think of who it was, but anyway, I see some cheap bats potentially cracking the lineup here today as well against the lefty. Who do you like here for Kansas City?
Yeah, I'm Bobby Witt. Just keep playing Bobby Witt, especially against lefties. As much upside as anyone on the slate that's not Ohtani. Pasquantino, even lefty, I'm okay with. Garcia's been much better against righties. I still think he's a bit overpriced for his talent, but as long as he's leading off, that's fine. Sal Perez is playable in any matchup. Love the pivot down to Fermin. Great call there. Renfroe went on the IL. So who they called Prado originally, but they sent him back. There's another cheap guy that we're missing here. I hope it's a young guy over a guy like Garrett Hampson that's in the lineup against the lefty. If Hampson's in there, he's playable just because there's a little speed there, but almost no power. I'd rather get a younger guy in there. Lofton is up recently, I believe. Hopefully it's Lofton over a guy like Hampson. Maybe they'll both be in there because it's a lefty, but I don't mind messing around with the cheap guys. It's like Harris is decent, but I'm certainly not afraid of him. I like a Kansas City stack, even with the ballpark downgrade.
Sorry, I'm like so distracted. I can't believe that Jaylen Brown got the MVP over Jason Tatum. Like that one's interesting to me.
He didn't.
Tatum had the most points, he had the most rebounds, and the most assists. Like, what more do you want?
Just in this game, though.
No,
the whole series.
For the whole finals.
Really?
Yeah, for the whole finals. He led the team in points, rebounds, and assists.
Interesting.
Yeah, just saying. I mean, okay, like Jaylen Brown, hey, he did his thing.
He had the biggest game. Well, I guess Drew Holiday probably had the biggest game. Game 2, Drew went absolutely nuts. And then Jaylen in game 3, I think. Jaylen Brown had one really big game in there, at least. I think it was game 3 that Jaylen Brown went off.
No, I mean, listen, Jaylen Brown, both of those guys, hey, they played fantastic. And I get it. It threw me off and it distracted me because but anyway, all right, back to baseball. I don't even remember where we were at. Oakland Bats, right?
Yep.
Oakland Bats. Yeah. I don't really have any interest in Oakland Bats, do you?
No, not really. I'm curious to see what Alec Marsh looks like in this start. I was impressed with that performance against the Yankees. It's a bad ballpark for hitting, which limits the upside of the stack here. So I don't think I'm stacking. I'll probably just load up on Marsh.
All right. Sorry. So distracting. Do you get that way? I get so distracted sometimes. Moving on. Morning grind game here. Under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts. Who do we got?
Yeah, just talked about him. Give me Alec Marsh. Looked outstanding in his last matchup against the Yankees. Gets a much better matchup here against the A's.
I'm going to go Myers. We talked about him being a cheap option today. Gets the Angels in a fantastic matchup. He has only topped 6 strikeouts once, and it was against the Cardinals when they were really bad, and now they're good. But I think this is a good spot for him to get some strikeouts. Over 8K to score under 15. Who is your bust today?
I'm going to go Luis Severino here. Strikeouts are way down, under 20%. The underlying stuff looks a little bit too lucky here. I know Texas's offense is watered down a little bit, but I think they can touch Severino up a little bit.
Yeah, I don't hate that call. I think most of these guys get 15 or right at 15. I'm going to go Bassett. I think the Boston Red Sox are going to load up with lefties in this lineup. So give me Bassett not to get there today. Over 4K to hit a home run, not in cores. Who's going yard today?
Give me Christian Yelich against Griffin Canning. Has just been absolutely destroyed by lefties this season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that at all. Going back to our conversation from earlier, I'm going to go Matt Olson. I really do think that Mize will get it going eventually again, whether it be the end of this year or next year. But give me Matt Olson. And multi-hits now in 4 of his last 5 games, and hopefully he can get it going because Braves need him to step up very much. Under 4K to get 2 hits. Who's a cheap bet that you like today?
Give me Kelnick, especially if he leads off again. 3,200 against Mize, who just hasn't had strikeout stuff this season.
Man, Yawning got me right. Like anytime It feels like anytime that we like get into talking about it, but I mean, there is a lot of like really like cheap value that I like on this slate that I don't know if they'll necessarily get 2 hits. Brandon Lau, I think, is a good option for 2 hits today at 3,700. Pablo Lopez is a tough matchup, but Brandon Lau is a really good hitter when healthy. He's hitting right now. Maybe he's finally healthy again, but give me Brandon Lau. Fun fact, I have a really, really good Brandon Lau rookie card autograph. I think it's like numbered out of 10. So I am Brandon Lau's like biggest supporter. Gotta hype him up. No, I think it's a good spot. Greg Jones just hit a home run for Rockies, first of the season. I wonder if that's his first of his career. Stack to score 6 or more runs. Who do you got?
Give me the Brewers. Love the spot here against Canning.
I didn't have my mute button ready. How dare Keith? I come back from a break and he's like, I'm going to take the Brewers. That's just mean. Like, that's not even fun. That's just mean. Give me the Yankees against Suarez in Yankee Stadium today. I think the Yankees get the job done and score 6 or more runs. Any player props or pick 'em plays that you like today?
Nothing that was really jumping out. I'm just refreshing here, seeing what's loaded up as we've been on the show talking here. Interesting. They have a Hogan Harris strikeout prop, but no Alec Marsh strikeout prop. If Alec Marsh comes out at 5.5, I would be looking over on that. But I'm not seeing it up at this point. Cannon, don't like the strikeout matchup against Houston. Yeah. Nothing really jumping out here of anything that's up. I will be keeping an eye out for that Alec Marsh one, though.
I'm hoping Tobias Myers opens at 4.5 because he's kind of living in that like 4 strikeout range. I think this is a really good strikeout matchup for him. It's not up yet. That's one that I have written down to check. So I'll be checking that one. And I want to see what like Schwellenbach comes in at here against Detroit because he's had some tougher matchups to start his career. If he comes in at like 3.5, even maybe 4.5, I would have interest in his strikeout prop today. Any lines, money lines, run lines, any of that stuff standing out to you today?
I might just be tilted because of the Cubs bullpen, but Logan Webb is a small underdog here. Justin Steele's a really good pitcher. So is Logan Webb. I trust the Giants bullpen over the Cubs. So I don't hate the Giants at basically even money. What was the other one I was looking at? The Brewers as minus 135 favorites, I am interested in as well. I think I like the Giants slightly more just because you're saving a little juice there. Those are the 2 I was looking at, though.
Well, what's funny is I literally just bet this, and I'm waiting for my app to load again, but I did a Kansas City Milwaukee run line, two team run line, or 2 money line parlay. Sorry, I can't speak. And It was like plus 203. So I took the Royals money line and the Brewers money line at plus 203. I don't know what it is. That's on the Hard Rock. I don't have it up where I can look on Scores and Odds and see what it is on normal books. But so that's what I'm going with today. I like the Royals and Brewers parlay, both minus 135 to win here and getting it at plus 203. It's good to be back. I appreciate all the kind words in chat and OS's FanDuel takes. We just break down the games. I mean, we talk DK pricing a lot more because it's usually up every night, so I don't usually look on FanDuel, but my thoughts don't really change as far as outside of like pricing. I mean, when it comes to FanDuel. So, Keith, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I will say, like, you'd want to pay up for pitching on FanDuel a little bit more, and there's just not anything to feel comfortable about paying up for today. Like Framber, I don't know what Framber's price is over there, but he'll be probably super chalk just because you need a little bit more upside. These pitchers that we're talking about, like Tobias Myers, Spencer Schwellenbach, like not really live for a quality start. I mean, they're live for one, but I don't think it's all that likely. So they're much better plays on DK. Just a quick note there, but that's all I got.
All right, it's going to wrap it up here for Tuesday. Back Wednesday. See you all then have a great day and good luck in your contest.